They say when you get old, your birthday becomes less about celebration and more about survival. Well, on my 75th birthday, survival meant something else entirely. You see, I survived the humiliation of sitting at my own dinner table, while my children laughed at me, not with me, at me. They thought I was weak. They thought I was irrelevant. They thought my life was nothing but a punchline. But they were wrong. Because that night, I had the last laugh. I gave them a gift so unforgettable it would haunt them for the rest of their lives. So let me ask you, when you hear my story, will you call me cruel? Or will you say I finally gave them what they deserved? Stick with me till the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because this story might just change the way you see family forever. My name is Harold, 75 years on this earth, retired postman, husband to Margaret, God rest her soul, father of 3 ungrateful children. For 40 years I walked every street in this town, carried every letter, delivered every package. I knew which houses smelled of fresh bread, which porches creaked, and which families argued behind closed doors. I knew everyone, and everyone knew me. Except, as I grew older, the world seemed to move on without me. My wife's passing 10 years ago left me alone, in a house too quiet for comfort. My children, well, they checked in less and less, until they only called when they needed something. Still, I never stopped loving them. I thought family meant loyalty, respect, gratitude. I was wrong. Daniel, the firstborn. Daniel was always sharp, ambitious. I sold my car to help pay for his law school. Walked 2 extra routes just to make ends meet. He became a lawyer, made more money than I ever dreamed of. But success hardened him. Now, every conversation with him feels like cross-examination. He speaks to me as if I'm on trial, guilty of being too old, too poor, too irrelevant. Susan, the middle child. Susan was my little girl once. Always clung to me when thunderstorms rolled in, always begged for bedtime stories. But as she grew, so did her coldness. Now she measures people by what they can do for her. She visits, yes, but only when she needs free babysitting or a check for emergencies. Michael, the youngest, Michael, he was my wife's favorite. Charming, funny, but irresponsible. Even now at 40, he still calls me for loans. Always a promise to pay me back. Never once has he kept it. And despite all their flaws, they were my children, my blood. So when my 75th birthday came around, I thought, just this once, they'd set aside the insults and give me kindness. That morning, I stood in the kitchen staring at the clock. The house smelled of Margaret's roast recipe. I had polished her silverware, set the good china, and even ironed the tablecloth she had loved. I could almost hear her voice. "Harold, they're your children. They'll come. They'll be kind." But a cold feeling sat in my chest. I remembered the last few birthdays. Daniel checking his phone. Through dinner, Susan leaving early, Michael arriving drunk. Still, I hoped. Foolish, maybe, but hope is the last thing to die in an old man. The doorbell rang at 6. Daniel walked in first, his suit too sharp for my humble home. He glanced around, lips curling. "Still haven't renovated, Dad? You know this place is worth more if you fix it up." His wife, Patricia, hovered behind him like the Queen of England, holding her purse like the house might stain it. "Good to see you too," I said. Next came Susan, ushering her 2 children inside. They barely looked at me, already glued to their screens. Susan air-kissed my cheek. "Dad, you didn't have to cook. You know the kids don't eat this kind of food." And last, Michael. Late, of course, red-faced, smelling of alcohol. He clapped me on the back so hard I nearly toppled. "Happy birthday, old man!" They all gathered around the table, my carefully cooked meal steaming, waiting. And then the performance began. Daniel poked the roast with his fork. "Still making this, huh? Guess you never learned to cook anything modern," Susan whispered to her kids, loud enough for me to hear. "Don't eat too much. We'll grab pizza after this." Michael poured wine. Half a glass for himself, none for me. "Dad, this table looks the same as when I was 10. You really can't change, can you?" And then came the laughter. Michael raised his glass. "To Dad. May his memory last longer than his knees," Daniel smirked. "Careful, Michael. He might forget where the bathroom is next." Susan chuckled. "Don't tease him too much. He might not survive the shock." Even the grandchildren giggled. Each laugh was a dagger. Each joke stripped me of my dignity. And in that moment I realized this wasn't carelessness. This was cruelty. They didn't come to honor me. They came to humiliate me. And I decided, if I was their joke, I'd deliver the punchline. As their laughter echoed, I drifted back in memory. I remembered the night Daniel begged me for tuition. "Dad, please, I'll never ask again." I sold Margaret's jewelry, her last gift, to me, to pay it. I remembered when Susan dropped her kids off at my door without warning. "Dad, it's just for a few hours." It turned into 2 days. I missed my anniversary visit to Margaret's grave. I remembered Michael's endless loans. "Just 100 this time, Dad." I skipped heart medication so he could drink. And now, they laughed. That's when I knew. Tonight, I'd make them remember. I stood slowly. My knees ached, but my voice was steady. "Thank you all for coming. I actually have a gift for each of you." They smirked, expecting money. Instead, I pulled out 3 envelopes, sealed, their names written in my shaky hand. "Your gift," I said, sliding them across the table. Daniel snorted. "What is this, Dad? Homework?" They tore them open, and the laughter died. Daniel read his letter, a list of every cruel remark every time he dismissed me. Attached was the receipt from the pawn shop where I sold Margaret's jewelry. Susan flipped through photos, her ignoring my calls while I sat in the ER, her texts complaining about me being a burden. Michael cursed as he read the list of loans, every dollar, every date, written proof of his theft. For the first time in years, silence. I leaned forward. "You thought I was weak. That I forgot, but I remember everything, and so will you." Then I revealed the truth. I had rewritten my will. None of them, not Daniel, not Susan, not Michael, would inherit a single cent. Every dime, every possession, every heirloom would go to the local community center, the only place where I was still respected. "You laughed at me tonight," I said, "but when I'm gone, the people who valued me will be the ones who benefit, not you." Daniel slammed the table. "You can't do this! You're not in your right mind!" Susan cried. "Dad, I didn't mean it, please!" Michael stood, fists clenched. "This is a joke, right?" But I wasn't joking. "This is my birthday," I said, standing tall. "And this is my gift to you, the truth. Tonight you'll remember me not as your joke, but as the man who finally stood up." They left that night in silence. But the fallout came quickly. Daniel showed up at my house 2 weeks later, begging me to change the will. He offered to pay for a new roof, even take me on a trip. I told him it was too late. Susan called daily, suddenly wanting to check in. Her children even wrote me letters of apology, but I could hear the calculation in her voice. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. Michael raged, left me voicemails filled with curses. Then silence. But me? For the first time in years, I felt peace. And now, sitting here, I ask myself, did I go too far? Or did I finally give them what they deserved? All I know is this: they'll never forget my 75th birthday. So tell me, what do you think? Am I the a-hole? Or was I right to finally make them remember who I am? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Because I've got more stories. And trust me, they only get better.